Have you ever felt like disappearing, not dramatically, not with pain or tragedy, just fading away? No noise. No explanation. Just silence. This isn't about death. It's about non-being. The craving for stillness so deep, even identity feels like a burden. This desire to not exist isn't rare. But it's rarely talked about. It hides behind phrases like, "I'm just tired," or, "I need a break from everything." But underneath, it's something far more profound. A spiritual exhaustion. A longing not for an end but for freedom. The philosophy of non-existence. The Buddhists called it nirvana, not a place of pleasure, but a place beyond craving, beyond ego, beyond the illusion of the self. To cease wanting is, in some traditions, the highest state of peace. The French philosopher Émile Cioran wrote, "It is not worth the bother of killing yourself, since you always kill yourself too late." Harsh words, but what he meant was this: the very structure of life creates suffering. And so the idea of non-existence feels like a cure, not because life is unbearable, but because being itself feels like a weight. This is not nihilism. This is metaphysical minimalism. A longing to be free from the noise, the narratives, the never-ending need to be someone. Psychology of wanting to disappear. Psychologically, the desire to not exist often shows up in people who feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, or emotionally depleted. It's not always depression. It can be dissociation. A natural response when the self feels too fractured to carry on. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Sometimes, the desire to vanish is really the desire to stop performing. To stop being on. To stop pretending we're okay. And yet, here's the paradox. The moment we stop fighting this feeling, and sit with it, something shifts. In stillness, we hear the truth behind the silence. Why we carry the weight of being. Existence in the modern world is noisy. We are constantly reminded to improve, to hustle, to grow, to compete. From the moment we wake up, we are measured by productivity, by status, by appearance. But no one asks how heavy that feels. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer believed that existence is driven by an irrational will to live. We push forward not out of joy but compulsion. And when someone pauses and says, "I don't want this," society calls them lazy, weak, lost. But what if they're just more honest? What if they're the ones who've seen through the illusion? Dissolving the self, a spiritual reframe. When spiritual seekers speak of ego death, they don't mean literal death. They mean the dissolution of the false self, the story we keep repeating about who we are. To not exist is sometimes a coded cry to drop the story. To stop being the achiever, the caretaker, the strong one, the broken one. And simply be, without identity, without expectation, without narrative. This is why mystics retreat into silence, why monks shave their heads, why seekers live in caves. Not to escape life, but to escape the version of themselves they were never meant to carry. Real-life echoes of this desire. Look at the artists who vanish at the height of fame. The thinkers who retreat from the world. The friends who suddenly pull back, needing space but not knowing how to ask for it. They're not selfish. They're trying to breathe. The desire to not exist isn't always a sign of danger, it's a signal. A signal that something within is calling out for space, for stillness, for a return to truth. What to do when you feel this way? First, don't pathologize the feeling. Not wanting to exist doesn't mean you're broken. It might mean you're finally seeing clearly. Ask yourself, what am I tired of being? Whose expectations am I trying to meet? What version of myself feels like a performance? Then, do the most radical thing possible in a hyperactive world. Pause. Turn inward. Let go of becoming and start being. You don't have to disappear from life. But you can disappear from the noise. The quiet liberation. The true power isn't in existing louder, it's in existing truer. Sometimes it's okay to unplug. To become small again. To let go of the pressure to prove your worth through action. The desire to not exist is sometimes your soul's way of saying, "I want to exist differently." Not through labels or roles or expectations, but through presence, simplicity, truth. Should you embrace this feeling? Yes, if you understand what it really means. It doesn't mean giving up. It means giving up what was never you to begin with. Alan Watts said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." You are not the noise. You are the space beneath it. If this video stirred something in you, it wasn't by accident. You're here because you feel what most people only whisper to themselves. On this channel, we don't shy away from discomfort. We explore the shadow, the silence, the real. Through philosophy, psychology, and raw honesty. We reconnect to the self that doesn't need to be seen to be real. So, if you're tired of shallow advice and craving depth, subscribe. Because not existing the way you used to might be the beginning of becoming who you really are. And remember, you don't need to disappear from the world. You just need to stop disappearing from yourself.